Republicans are doing this like weird thing now where Greg Abbott started this thing where he casually will just like bus migrants to DC and like other like blue states and shit, right? Specifically to DC though. And then immediately, of course, DeSantis got involved on that too. And Ron DeSantis, because he's such a clout hungry piece of shit, and he started doing it too. He sent him to Martha's Vineyard, which I think is pretty funny. He flew them out to Martha's Vineyard, and what they're basically doing is they are literally doing what they said the Democrats were doing, but couldn't find any Democrat that's actually doing that, right? So they just decided to do the George Soros thing themselves. They unironically did the George Soros thing. They were like, George Soros is busing migrants to liberal cities for the votes, right? And then they couldn't actually find one, so they just started doing it themselves, which is weird. It's like humiliating for the people. It like robs them of their humanity. You know what I mean? Yeah, it's like Steven Crowder cross-dressing. It's just always projection. And if this is true, apparently one migrant told the national correspondent for Fox News that he believes the border is open, which of course, you know, where did he hear that? Not from a Democrat. I'll tell you that much. You know who probably told him that? Some Republican. It's insane. It's like, what the are you doing? It's such a weird, it is such a weird thing that these guys are like, yeah, the border's open. They're telling Venezuelans the border's open and they're busing them into lip-tart cities. It's like, no, it turns out you're doing that. Like, you couldn't find a guy to do that, so you're doing it now. Also, if anyone unironically thought the border was open, that means they're probably watching Fox News, because the only place that ever says the border is open is Fox News. I've never heard anybody be like, yeah, the border's open, please come in. I've never heard a single liberal news outlet be like, yeah, thank God, finally Joe Brandon is president and the border is open. Like, it's just an invention of the Republican Party. Like, the most famous Kamala Harris moment is literally her being like, do not come. Kamala Harris being like, do not come. And then Trump being like, I'm gonna come. Do not come. The word is spreading about this in Mexico.
Well, I don't think.
I talked to a sheriff on the border who told me the cartels are using this as a way to encourage migrants to cross the border. Bro, that's hilarious. I'm sorry, but that's hilarious. I have to tweet about this. Over the border into liberal. No one does disinformation like us to ourselves. No, it's just insane. It's exactly the same meme as Steven Crowder cross-dressing. Pure projection. Thank you, Chatter, for that, by the way. There is, I mean, I'm sorry. This is like a weird thing that is like weirdly not that bad. It's actually kind of good that they're doing this in a weird way, because I do feel like these migrants would be better taken care of in blue cities regardless. You know what I mean? So it's like, it's gonna, I personally think it might backfire on them. I'm not even kidding. Like, I literally, the people, like, Martha's Vineyard is a terrible place to send them. And that's like specifically because they want to be pieces of shit, right? But if you're sending them to DC, or if you're sending them to like a big enough city, yeah, I think you can absolutely do that. Like, you absolutely can. And in a weird way, I do think that is, in a weird way, I do think that that's like a counterproductive for them, but it's actually overall good, kind of. Like, I haven't really been able to make my mind up on this. It's still dehumanizing, because it's like they should be able to, you know, go through. They should be able to basically go through the proper protocol wherever they are, right? Like, it's kind of silly. A lot of these migrants that go to Texas, like, they have immediate family in Texas. You know what I mean? But as migrants arrive, Martha's Vineyard residents and businesses lined up to help. Food, coffee, bedding, and warm clothes have been arriving at the island. Dude, it's backfiring. I'm telling you. Why the they just literally thought like everyone's going to be just as racist as we are. You know what I mean? It's like, why the would they? Why would the cruelty really is the point, brother? Yeah, I mean, they're just doing it because, like, I think this is a really silly stunt. They're using tax dollars on this, okay? There are negative consequences of this. Like, first and foremost, like, you're kind of, you're taking away the autonomy of these people, and you're mistreating them like they're not human beings or whatever, which is really up, obviously. However, I do think that this is kind of backfiring on them, because you sent them to blue cities, and those motherfuckers are gonna take care of these people. You know what I mean? They're gonna help out. DeSantis sent them with a paper on where to go get a job, housing, etc., and gave them an address to a vacant lot. Literally evil. 50 migrants relocated to Martha's Vineyard.
Back in this country, we want to tell you about an escalation in the political fight over immigration. Dozens of apparent migrants landed by charter flight on a rocky island in the Atlantic, Martha's Vineyard, Massachusetts. This was yesterday afternoon. They arrived as part of what Governor Ron DeSantis calls a relocation program. Many did not know where they were going, and local officials on the island were not given any advance notice of the flight's arrival. Nick Giovanni of our Boston station WBZ is in Woods Hole, that's just across the water from Martha's Vineyard in Massachusetts. Nick, good morning.
Absolute psychopathic shit. I mean, just 50 human beings. Remember, these are 50 human beings. And you're functionally like kidnapping them and then trafficking them across state boundaries. And the only reason why you're allowed to do this is because no one sees migrants as human beings. Like, they just see them as like completely devoid of any sort of rights whatsoever. This kind of thing would never happen. You can't do this to anyone. Can you imagine someone's like, hey, actually, I saw that you shoplifted, right? A sandwich. So now I'm going to put you on a plane to a different state. You can't do that. You can only do this to to felons. You can only do this to homeless people, and you can only do this to migrants. Most of them black or brown, by the way, predominantly black or brown. And that is exactly what's happening here. Okay? You're trafficking children, which is also ironic from the QAnon party, right? They're literally trafficking children over state lines. But again, they don't have any fucking rights. So, go off, I guess. However, this can have a positive, like I said, this can have a positive impact. Because the underlying assumption is that these places are not going to want to take care of these people. And that the voters themselves are going to be reactionary just like they are. But it turns out it's kind of backfiring a little bit.
Tony, good morning to you. This is one of the ferry terminals here on Cape Cod that takes passengers to Martha's Vineyard, and it is there this morning where those migrants are waking up in at least 2 shelters that we know of following an island-wide response to their arrival. Volunteers on Martha's Vineyard found themselves scrambling to find shelter, food, water, and other services to accommodate the unforeseen arrival of 50 migrants, including the elderly and children, flown there, part of a relocation plan originated by Florida Governor Ron DeSantis.
Martha's Vineyard Community Services had 50 people sort of literally walk up to their front door.
Witnesses say the group wandered some 3 miles from the airport into Edgartown. Once in town, the migrants were met by volunteers who brought them to a high school where they were fed and later transported by school bus to a church to stay for the night. Authorities sent out urgent pleas on social media asking for volunteers to help with an urgent humanitarian situation. Barbara Rush worked into the night helping the families at St. Andrew's Episcopal Church.
From what we found out by talking to the people, they're originally from Venezuela. They were flown here. We're not sure what plane brought them here or how they got on a plane to here.
Volunteers said they were told by some of the migrants they did not know where they were, but were told they would be given housing and jobs. A statement from a DeSantis spokesperson read in part, Massachusetts, New York, and California will better facilitate the care of these individuals who they have invited into our country by incentivizing illegal immigration through their designation as sanctuary states.
Like, low-key, he's not wrong, though.
Since the spring, Republican governors in Texas and Arizona have transported several thousand migrants and asylum seekers to New York, Chicago, and Washington, D.C., all cities with Democratic mayors. Yet, unlike those major cities, these arrivals aren't met with migrant resources and services like immigration's courts, where their asylum cases can be heard.
Immigrants who were told that they would be greeted here with a place to stay and with jobs.
Massachusetts State Representative Dylan Fernandez arrived on the island Wednesday and called the move by the DeSantis government to transport migrants there with seemingly no coordination, quote, evil.
They're using children.
Yeah, I mean, they're using them as political pawns, right? Which is insane. Like, they're using literal children. They are trafficking literal children to do a gotcha, like a political gotcha. And Fox News was, of course, on site when they got off the bus because this was the entire point. DeSantis, the only part of what DeSantis is right about is that, yes, these undocumented immigrants that are seeking asylum, okay, will probably be better treated in blue states, in sanctuary states. That's true. sanctuary cities are better for migrants. It is just fucking truth. So yes, and you see it immediately. These guys came in, and the first thing that they were met with is like a sea of support. You know what I mean? Like, their execution is disgusting. Their execution is absolutely disgusting. Okay, this is a place where there is actual housing. There is actual, relocation programs. There are actual training programs. There are actually adequate translators. And that would be, opening up more additional jobs in places like that, right? And then you would say, hey, would you like to go here? That's how you would do this. And then there would be an actual asylum process where the states are collaborating with one another and actually creating housing opportunities for the people that are coming. They just kidnapped them and sent them over and said, hey, here's an empty lot where there's a building where you can live in or some shit. Okay? Which is really up. One of the migrants we spoke to last night said he spent 12 days waiting to cross the border. Then he spent 3 weeks being processed before they dropped him off at the airport. He said that he was only processed so fast because he was from Venezuela. There are thousands of people from Mexico who have been in the processing facility for months just because they're from Mexico. Yeah. Do you think there's any stock in their excuse about border towns not having resources to handle these people? What? No, dude. They're already spending a load of money just like shipping them over to Martha's Vineyard and shit. What do you mean? No, guys, we're talking about states, okay? Especially states like Texas and shit. They literally have enough power. They command the power of entire states, okay? They have resources, brother. They literally have resources, especially because migrants mean new jobs, both new jobs for the migrants to take on, but also new jobs that did not exist prior in both relocation, asylum seeking, legal paperwork, and also education programs. Like, there are so many jobs. You need to build more housing. We're not talking about like Alabama. We're talking about Texas. More tax revenue, more jobs for Americans that currently don't have jobs. Like, there's so much. There is so much going on. Sending them to a place like DC is worse because DC doesn't have the same pool of funds and resources that states can tap into. That's one of the areas that's like up. Anyway,
addition to food and shelter,
Texas scared of becoming California. Dude, that's so funny that you say that, especially because like Texas is an incredibly diverse state. Like, people always think Texas is yee, but Texas has a long history of like Texas was Mexico, man, just like California. What the are you talking about? You know how many Mexican Texans, like Tex-Mex, you know how many Mexicans already live in Texas? Texas has always been a state that's like hella Hispanic. North Mexico to begin with. A lot of people forget that reality that like most of these southern states are, that's why I always make that joke. Like, there's only two ethnicities in America. You're either Italian if you're in the Northwest. If you're in the Northeast, like close to New York, the closer you are to New York, the more Italian you are. Or you're Mexican, the closer you are to the Southwest or the South in general. Same people also forget some of the most insane American neo-Nazis are in SoCal. Yeah. Yeah, where do you think the names come from? Like San Antonio, El Paso. What is that? You think that's American? I mean, this is literally an Anchorman reference at this point. You know what I mean? Like San Diego. What was it? A whale's is that what was the joke? A whale's vagina. Anyway, yeah, Los Angeles. Anyway, so the strategy of busing undesirables north is not a new one. To embarrass northern liberals and humiliate black people, Southern White Citizens Council started their so-called reverse freedom rides, giving black people one-way tickets to northern cities with false promises, jobs, housing, and better lives. Yeah, this was a Klan tactic, by the way. The Kennedy White House received mail from the leaders in the targeted states, asking the federal government to intervene in the cruel, merciless hoax and their traffic in human lives and misery. DeSantis' move may backfire among his own anti-communist voter base. Yeah, there's also this other stunt that is probably pissing off the Cubans and Venezuelans that already live in Miami-Dade County. Ron DeSantis' stunt of flying 50 undocumented migrants to Martha's Vineyard may play well on Fox News, but the fact that it was 50 undocumented Venezuelans who would escape the Maduro regime may not play as well in Miami-Dade County. Yeah, that's the other part of it. These are the good ones, you know what I mean? I thought these were the good ones, man. These were the ones who were running from communism. That's how you're going to treat your voter base, Ron? I guess Cubans don't really give a There are plenty of Venezuelans who also have escaped communism living in Florida. There is that as well. I am here on the ground. They actually don't care. Most importantly, though, yeah, Cubans don't give a shit, most likely. But most importantly, though, like I said, time and time again, this probably will backfire because these guys will most like you can literally you're handing a gigantic dub to blue states to be like, yeah, we took migrants that you shamelessly sent over like you're a part of the clan, okay? And now they have incredible lives here, you piece of shit. You did human trafficking.
Migrants were also tested for COVID and were all negative, we're told. Now, as for Massachusetts Governor Charlie Baker, who's also a Republican, his office told us the state will continue to support the short-term sheltering services provided to those migrants. Reporting from Woods Hole, Cape Cod, Massachusetts. Nick Giovanni. Tony, back to you in New York.
Nick Giovanni for us from WBZ. There, our partners in Massachusetts. A story unlike any.
By the way, this is human trafficking, and there is legal precedent for prosecuting. Governor Newsom has called on the Justice Department to investigate the interstate transportation of migrants. Like millions of Americans, I've been horrified at the images of migrants being shipped on buses and planes across the country to be used as political props. Clearly, transporting families, including citizens, across state lines under false pretenses is morally reprehensible, but it may also be illegal because I think it is. You can't just like ship a bunch of humans, dude. You can't do that. I mean, this is like that Platoon moment, a movie that I just watched on a plane flying into Los Angeles, California yesterday. But it's like that moment in Platoon when they actually enter the Vietnamese village, and Charlie Sheen has this like come to God moment where he recognizes the humanity of the Vietnamese, that they are bullying and brutalizing and raping and murdering unjustifiably.
Buses filled with migrants from our southern border have just arrived outside Vice President Kamala Harris's residence at the Naval Observatory in Washington, D.C.
I mean, dude, it's so obvious what they're doing. This is so gnarly, dude.
Griff Jenkins is live on the scene to tell us more. Griff, is that Massachusetts Avenue that I'm looking at right there?
Yeah. Good morning, Steve, Ainsley, and Brian. This bus just arrived moments ago. I talked to some of the folks. Apparently, this bus has come from Del Rio, Texas. That's what a gentleman on the bus told me. And these, pardon me, ¿de dónde eres? Venezuela? ¿Habla inglés? Sí, no? No? La Presidenta Harris dice que frontera cerrado.
Dude, I love this. This is so funny. La Presidente! Hey! Hey, you! Hablo inglés. Hablo inglés. ¿Dónde está la biblioteca? ¿Dónde está la Presidente Kamala Harris? Bro, this dude, you couldn't get a Spanish speaker for this? You knew that this was going to happen. Didn't some Republican Congress or Senate member organize this shit? Yeah, DeSantis did. You knew that this was going to happen. You couldn't find like a person who could, translate. You were there when they're getting out of the bus. So clearly you're collaborating. You're clearly collaborating with whatever Republican is pulling the stunt. So you couldn't find like a Spanish speaker? Hablo Americano.
La frontera es cerrado or abierto? Abierto. So what she's saying, Steve, I asked her, Vice President Harris says that the border is closed. She says it's open. As we see these migrants coming across now, we're not sure how many there are. We do know that according to Texas Governor Abbott's office, there have been about 7,900. Pardon me.
Wait, did she even say that? I mean, I can't speak Spanish, but I don't think that, did she even say that? The whole like the border is open meme comes from this guy unironically being too stupid to bring like an actual capable Spanish speaker with him. She did. She said abierto. She said it was open, but the way he asked the question was, what did he say though? Him, border closed or open, her open. There is not enough context. He baited. Fox News viewers only speak American anyway. It doesn't matter. Hola, Harris abierto o cerrado.
Hey, do you speak English? ¿Habla inglés? ¿De dónde eres?
Venezuela.
Venezuela? Everybody from todos Venezuela?
Sí, venimos prácticamente de Venezuela, un país.
The thing is, don't we already have like a special treatment for Venezuelan migrants, by the way? They might unironically think the border is open, whereas, Mexicans know that that's not the case. If you're from Guatemala, if you're from Mexico, if you're from any of these other countries that is not escaping communism, right? Then it's not open for you. But these are still asylum speakers, right? These are still asylum speakers. So technically, it is legal for them to be seeking asylum in the United States of America. it's additionally legal for Venezuelans to be seeking that because they're escaping communism. She said abierto, but she does not know what he was clearly asking. It was too ambiguous.
País muy duro. En realidad, queríamos ya salir de allá. Tenemos días viajando.
I feel like this is literally, once again, humanizing the asylum seekers in this situation.
Migración también nos ha jodido mucho en México, pero lo que queremos es triunfar. Queremos evolucionar, queremos tener de todo, queremos.
Yeah, they have temporary protected status until 2024. Like, so they are allowed. Migrants coming in from Venezuela are allowed.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, buena suerte. So I'm not going to be able to translate all of that, and I wouldn't even try because it wouldn't look good on live TV. But as you can see, they're coming across here, all of these migrants.
Yeah, because you just don't know what he said. You just said, abierto, abierto. When you're padding your resume and say fluent in Spanish because you got an 87 on the final 6 years ago, yo, this motherfucker is his level of Spanish is my level of Spanish, okay? This is hilarious. Why couldn't Fox News actually send someone that knows how to speak Spanish? This is so funny. There's not a single person at Fox News that speaks Spanish. Of course there are. They couldn't have hired a Spanish speaker to translate. That's crazy. Yeah, Peggy Hill Spanish language. Look.
Mrs. Hill, in your own words, your own Spanish words, please tell the judge what happened with little Lupe.
Su pudor. Yo poder ver que usted ser caballo razonable. Yo estoy muy embarazada por lo que pasa por Lupe. Ella comer mi accidente de comión y yo nomás quiero que hacer que Lupe ser libre. Yo tengo demasiados buenos años enfrente para pasar mi vida en fábrica cigarros.
It appears to be at least 20 or so at this point. We have 2 buses. So what I was saying was, we know from Governor Abbott's office, there have been about 7,900 migrants on over 190 buses coming to D.C., more than 2,200 on more than 40 buses to New York, and of course, about 5 buses to Chicago with a little over 300 migrants. ¿De dónde eres?
¿Dónde está la biblioteca? My friend, I see you're wearing an American hat. ¿Dónde está la Venezuela, my friend? Hello?
¿De dónde eres? ¿Habla inglés? Hola, ¿cómo estás?
That's so f***ed up, bro. That's like a literal baby, dude. I mean, homie's got the pajamas on and shit. What are you doing, bro? That's a child. What the f***? That is actually insane.
Bien.
¿De dónde eres?
Venezuela.
Venezuela? Me llamo Griff. ¿Cómo se llama?
Gateway.
All right. Buena suerte. As you can see, children coming across here.
Okay, I'm gonna be honest though. Like, this is gonna backfire. I think. Like, I think Republicans are running on the idea that like everyone else is gonna be just as racist as they are. Like, the people that put this together were like, oh yeah, people are gonna see this and be like really racist about it. When in fact, it's like it's turning into like a Channel 5 situation. Like, you're literally showcasing the humanity of these people that are trying to find a better, you're showcasing the humanity of people that are trying to make a better life for themselves. Not only that, but also these are people that are escaping communism. So they're the good kind of migrants too, regardless of how brown they are, right? I just don't see, yeah, look at all these rapists and criminals coming off the bus is not going to work. Exactly. Like when you can very clearly see that they're just like normal people. And they always are normal people.
Habla inglés? No. The majority of migrants that have been coming, and I can give you some of the most recent numbers.
Yeah, I guess the reason why they didn't bring a translator is because they don't care about it, and they want to like drive home the point. Like, look, we can't understand them. Like, they're coming over the border, and we can't even understand them. Like, they can't even speak English. That's probably the reason why they're doing that. But even then, like, you forgot that they are in fact brown, so Fox viewers will see them as animals. Nah, man. I don't know, dude. I can't look at this and go, wow, these guys, I can't comprehend how people would look at these people and go, these guys are very clearly doing crimes. They're criminals. You see a child in a Marvel shirt, dude. That's all. Like, the only difference between this kid and like any other average random kid is that he's a little bit more tan, dude. You crazy? You think Fox News grandparents don't have fucking grandchildren? He's got the Marvel pajamas on, dude. That's crazy. Hasan, you're not racist. That's why. No, dude. No. I'm telling you. Listen. I believe in the humanity of everyone, regardless, okay? No matter how white supremacist people are, there is degrees to this shit, okay? There is degrees to this shit. Like, there are people who will look at this and go, yeah, those brown kids coming over the border and whatever. Yeah, those guys are like mega racist. But most normal people have underlying white supremacist values, but they will immediately go, hey, I'm not a racist person. Why do they say that? They say that because they understand that racism is an inherently bad value, okay? There are varying degrees and different tiers of white supremacy. In an otherwise white supremacist upbringing, people pick up white supremacist values without even recognizing that they are white supremacists. When you call it out as such, they immediately know, well, that's a bad thing. There is an association with racism as though it's a bad thing, okay? So most normal Americans, when they see shit like this, it's going to be like the abortion situation. They're not. This is unironically the exact opposite of propaganda, the exact opposite kind of propaganda that Trump tries to do all the time, which is every single migrant is actually a rapist murderer, right? Trump very deliberately, and Republicans who are racist like Tucker Carlson very deliberately will run black crime and migrant crimes every night to paint the entirety of migrants that are coming over the border as like people who are trying to do crimes in America. They are watching this at home and don't care who thinks they're racist, bro. I get your point, but it's so naive. I don't know, man. I think that like more people would look at this and realize the humanity of these people than the opposite. That's why you don't see this kind of coverage normally. The coverage afforded to migrants for the most part is literally around like how murdering they are. You have too much faith in people. Carter's right. Leftists seem to forget hogs are also people. Yes, dude. Yes. That's why you always find yourself shocked when you hear about like literally a Trump supporter, like a Hispanic Trump supporter who's like, yeah, I want to build the wall. But then they ask him like, do you think we should give amnesty to people that are already here? And he'll say, yes, of course. You can't understand the complexity of the American political mind if you cannot understand that a lot of the white supremacist attitudes and values that they repeat or have baked into their existence is just a product of social conditioning. And if you don't reinforce that white supremacist attitude with the appropriate agitprop, and you do this, you're going to actually end up making a lot of people go, wait a minute, these guys are just like regular dudes. Now, maybe I'm being a little bit too hopeful here. But I do think that this like Ron DeSantis move overall might actually end up backfiring. I grew up surrounded by actual Nazis in North Idaho. It's super hard for those people to escape. I got insanely lucky with my family having diversity and also moving to a big city in my teenage years. A lot of studies have shown that even a very small view of the sameness cuts through sameness very effectively. This did not show what Fox News wanted it to show. Yeah, you libbing shit up. What? No, I'm not. I'm not libbing it up at all. New York got you libbed up. No, you guys are nuts, dude. Even the most hateful right-winger ultimately is, when confronted with their racism, will probably have a reaction to it that you do not expect, where they're like, I'm not racist. Why do you think they think that? A lot of racist right-wingers unironically think that they're not racist. They think because they think that it's just white supremacist conditioning has created these environments that they just take for granted. Not gonna lie, but you kind of foster all these ultra leftoids in your chat. Kudos on educating them though. Man, dude, I do this all the time, okay? And I'm doing it right now. I'm trying to change people's minds, and you're like, you did this. It's like, no, I didn't. People still come in here, regardless of whether they agree with me or not. Is it an echo chamber or not?
Griff, ¿cómo se llama?
Gateway.
Going to go.
Right.
They don't know where they're going to go because there's no one from the D.C. Office of Immigration meeting them. There are a few other reporters out here.
Yeah, I wonder why there's only reporters, but no one from the D.C. Office of Immigration meeting them. Perhaps because they only informed the reporters and not the proper authorities, dude. You literally set this up. That's insane to me. Like, that is insane. It's like, oh, no one from the immigration office is meeting them. I don't know. Maybe because you dropped these people like they're bags, okay, instead of real full-fledged humans. And you set it up by sending reporters there. The only people that you informed were reporters.
That's all that are Griff, here trying to figure out exactly where they're going to go next.
Griff, I don't know if Griff can, hey, Griff, can you hear me? I think Griff has momentarily lost contact with the mothership here.
Get you back now. Sorry about that, guys.
Griff, can you hear me?
I got you, Steve.
Okay. Griff, because you're not able to pick up a lot of details from those particular migrants, aside from a lot of them are from Venezuela, can you go into the front of that first of two buses and just ask the driver where they're from, and who asked them to pull up in front of Kamala Harris's house?
Yeah.
Like they sent them wait, what? I mean, we know who told them to pull up in front of Kamala Harris's house. What are they trying to say, that Kamala Harris asked for them to come there? What the does that seem like an appropriate location for them to be dropped off at? How do you this up? You knew ahead of time. You knew ahead of time this was going to happen. How do you this up, Fox News? How do you up Ron DeSantis?
Let's go over here for a second, Martin. And so we're just confirming with you. You're coming from Del Rio, Texas?
Yeah, well said. I'm a black liberal who went to college in an extremely red state, Arizona. And what you explained sounds a lot more like more of the kids I went to school with. I had a lot of conservative friends there, and nothing highlights your point more than West Coast conservatives. They are trippy as right? Most weren't even aware of the white supremacy shit they were conditioned into, lol. Yeah, bro. It's like when you talk to a normie about Black Mermaid and they immediately are like, well, that's kind of weird. Aren't mermaids supposed to be white? And it's like, bro, that's a mythical creature. How did you arrive at that? You can literally, and even if you know that normie person is unironically has never, like, they're not as racist as the average person at all. You know, they're not at all, but they immediately, that's like their first reaction. Where did they arrive at that? Okay. How did they arrive at that? They arrived at that through social conditioning. Okay. It's a mermaid. They're not real. They're not real. Not real. How did you arrive at that? Why do you think Jesus is white? It's the same conditioning, dude. It's the same take. Mermaids were always portrayed white, though. Yeah, mermaids are, they're not real, though, you know? They're actually gray and black and brown, as a matter of fact. Do you know why? Because they're sea lions and manatees, dumbass. That's what the original depiction was in mythology. It was the sirens that sailors who were horny as mistook for human beings and women because they were so horny and had scurvy and their brains were broken. They would literally sail the boat into the shallow waters because they saw manatees and shit that were standing on the rocks and thought, oh my God, that's a woman. Can't wait to manatee. That's like the original inception of the mermaid mythology. That's where that comes from. But again, it's made up. It's made up. Just like elves and shit. It doesn't matter if they're fucking black or brown or white. It doesn't matter. They're made up.
All right.
I don't think they want to talk.
They're not able to talk to us, although we do have confirmation from the governor's office that the governor sent these buses here specifically to Vice President Harris's house, to the Naval Observatory here. But again, where these migrants are going to go right now is anybody's guess as we watch this unfold.
You know, Griff, you asked one of those migrants about, there's irony involved in what they have done by shipping these two buses to the Naval Observatory, which it looks like you're right on Massachusetts Avenue. The vice president's house is just up the hill beyond a fence, the direction you're looking right there. She's in charge. She's the so-called border czar. So she's saying it's secure. And if two buses full of people who just walked across into this country on...
Dog, you did this. Who did this? You did. What is happening? I'm losing my mind. Bro, why are they making it seem like Kamala Harris was like, please come? Oh my God. Wait, this is so stupid. This has to be, dude. Democrats have to flip this, dude. This is such a gimme. I mean, this is insane.